Kia ora koutou. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak, particularly Todd, who initiated my contribution here today. And so this follows on from John's address just now, and particularly references the study he mentioned. So I'll be talking about that, and first what I'd like to do is talk about how the New Zealand curriculum, in fact, fits in with civics education. So the New Zealand curriculum is an outcome-focused curriculum for English medium education. There's a parallel Marautanga Māori it serves the same function for Māori medium education. The New Zealand curriculum sets the direction for students' learning in a way that schools can design and review and deliver their own curricula. And the structure of the New Zealand curriculum contains these elements of its values, its key competencies, principles, and also learning areas. And there the vision of the whole curriculum is set out, and you can see that there's a relevance there immediately to civics and citizenship. Young people will be confident, connected, actively involved, lifelong learners. And the elements of the curriculum there, its values, there are some of the values, and they connect with civics and citizenship. Also the key competencies related to others, participating and contributing, the principles, treaty of Waitangi, cultural diversity, inclusion, community engagement, and the future focus. And within New Zealand education, civics and citizenship sits within the social sciences learning area, and the study that New Zealand participated in 2008 was of year 9 students, and they are working in social studies with learning objectives that, amongst a range of other things, include civics and citizenship elements. I'll just read a couple of those. Understand how systems of government in New Zealand operate and affect people's lives, and how they compare with another system. And that resonates exactly with John's talk that we just heard. Understand how the Treaty of Waitangi is responded to differently by people in different times and places. Understand how cultural interaction impacts on cultures and societies. Understand how people define and seek human rights. And so that the curriculum's got this kind of alignment with the priorities for New Zealand to be a well-informed society. The study that we participated in 2008 shows that students know and learn about civics and citizenship from other sources than schooling. Their own kind of cultural backgrounds and socioeconomic backgrounds all have an impact. So the talk today is briefly just to talk about some of those results, and just to start with what was the Civic and Citizenship study. 38 countries participated in 2008, including ourselves. It looked at the way young people are prepared to undertake their roles. There was a cognitive assessment and also questionnaires, and the civic knowledge construct of that, the cognitive assessment aimed to measure for those students, contained these elements: civic society and systems, civic principles, civic participation, and civic identities. And the data collection was in schools in October, November 2008, so just near that election, in fact, remember that election. And it's a few years ago now, but we think the evidence is still useful, particularly in the sense of the future focus of the questions, and I'll look at that a little bit in a minute. So just to have an idea to start with about what the cognitive assessment looked like a little bit, this is a question from the study. The question there is, how can public debate benefit society? And the students were asked to give two separate ways that it could. And maybe you'd like to just think about what your answers to that would be. In fact, full credit was given to answers that referred to two of the following five: better understanding of the substance of an issue, providing solutions to problems or forum for solutions, increasing social harmony, increasing people's confidence or motivation to participate in society, or referring to the principle of freedom of expression. And so 62% of those Year 9 students got either one or two different ways there correctly from that list. And 22% gained the full credit for that, 42 two right answers. Just a little bit of background, that cognitive assessment sits within a kind of psychometric framework. The items have a measured difficulty level, and therefore you can use a battery of items in order to assess students' knowledge on a scale of that construct of civic knowledge that it aims to measure. So turning now to results, as John mentioned previously, our average score was 517 compared with an average of 500, and similar to England, Norway and Spain, but less than some other high achieving countries. The Scandinavian countries and the East Asian countries are often successful in many kinds of education and social areas. And as John also mentioned, the gap between the high and the low achievers was wide in New Zealand. Out of the 38 countries that participated, New Zealand in fact had the widest spread from the 5th to 95th percentile. And we now just look at that in a bit more detail. So that's just the diagram of the different countries' results that we published, and just quickly zooming in, there's New Zealand with the red star, and you can see then that compared with the countries that are with a very similar average to us with civic knowledge, we've got that wider spread there. England's the next widest, but some of those other countries that have got a very similar average have a much narrower spread. And just some key results there. Girls' average scores was 532 compared to boys' 501. So again, there's a bit of a gender difference in civic knowledge. There's an ethnic group disparity as well. A Pākehā student's average was 541 compared to that average of 517. Māori were 476, Pacifica less still at 451, and Asian at 520. So that kind of points to some of the differences in socioeconomic background and ethnic background and cultural background, and also immigrant backgrounds, and it reflects kind of diversity in the society. So this just looks at a specific example of that, the relationship there between parents' education level and civic knowledge of the students. And so the green bars there are the different proportions of students with different parents' education levels, from lower secondary, just up there on the left, to a tertiary degree on the right, and the little black diamonds represent the civic knowledge score for each of those groups, and there's quite a strong relationship there. The higher the education of the parents, the greater the students' civic knowledge. And a similar kind of graph here, we have civic knowledge scores for Pacific and Asian students, and looking at the relationship between whether they have English as their home language or another language as their home language. And the vertical blue bars are proportions, and the black diamonds are the average scores for those groups. So there's a big difference for both Asian and Pacific students between those who have English as their home language and those who have some other language as their home language. And so there's a lot of background to that. There's immigration, and there's ability to read and understand and write English, because the study was fully undertaken in English medium, and there's a great deal that could be explored in that. But it relates to diversity primarily. This is a hopeful little graph. It showed that students were asked in the background questionnaire, would they in the future vote in national elections? And the options for that were, I would certainly do this, probably not, certainly not. And those are the proportions there with the blue bars. 84% of students either probably or certainly would vote in national elections, they said. In 2008, they would have been 21 by now and probably voted in 2014, last year. And there's a really, really strong relationship between their civic knowledge scores and whether their idea at that time of what their intentions would be. So that shows that, one thing it does show for people that undertake these studies, there's a kind of validation of the construct. It's so strong relationship between the measured civic knowledge and the aspiration to vote that you've got such a strong parallel. And so that's a future look from what this study could show, a kind of future focus there. And just in a very quick summary, there's key parts of the New Zealand curriculum strongly relate to civic and citizenship education. The Civic and Citizenship study in 2008 showed that New Zealand's students' knowledge is about average, but above average compared with other participating countries, but there's that widespread of civic knowledge. And there's a great many factors falling into the background of students and diversity that relate strongly to civic knowledge. So thank you very much indeed.